Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Dutchmen Discussions for Episode 8. I'm Mike Freeman, Director of Athletic Communications, and today's guest is head women's basketball coach Amy Sokaitis. We'll be discussing the MAC's recent decision to suspend athletics until January, and we'll look back at last season and discuss some incoming players for this year. So we hope you enjoy LVC head women's basketball coach Amy Sokaitis. Okay, we would now like to welcome on Lebanon Valley head women's basketball coach Amy Sokaitis. Amy, hi. How are you? How's everything been going these past few months with you?
It's going well. Finding ways to be active and social distance and still figure out how to be creative with our jobs. So it's going.
Yeah, it's definitely been tough, kind of dealing with everything and adapting, which everybody is doing. But it's to the point now. It's the end of July. We've almost kind of gotten used to this. I don't know about you, but I've gotten kind of used to this way of life.
Working from home now just seems like the norm, which was not really what my expectation was when we first left campus in March. But here we are in July.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely, I just kind of, wake up and have some meetings. I don't really have to go anywhere. I'm so used to just, driving to campus, but now it's just completely different. But
yeah,
hopefully we can get back soon safely.
Plan.
Okay, so as you saw on Friday, the MAC, along with many other Division III schools, announced that they're suspending fall and winter athletics until at least January 1st. I don't think it was a secret coming from the MAC. A couple weeks ago they came out with, we're going to play conference games only, but now they make this decision. So, what did you say to your team, and how do you cope with that?
Well, I will say, as you said, I don't think it was a secret. We had already discussed what the possibilities would be even weeks before the first MAC announcement came out. So we were sort of surprised, actually, when the first one came out. It was, better news than we thought it would be, sort of thing. And then when the second one came out, I think at that point, because of what other conferences, especially in our area, had been doing, most of my players were fully prepared for it. Certainly a different feeling for a winter athlete than probably it is a fall sport athlete. We're still staring down the barrel of most of our season, at least that conference portion. And, fall, if they play in the spring or however that's supposed to work, it just is a different feel for them. So we talked about what we can do in the meantime, how we can do some player development stuff and individual workouts after October 1st and what that would look like. Lots of questions still. We don't know what's going to happen after that Thanksgiving time when we're no longer on campus. If our athletes stay, if they go, what that looks like. We're still sort of trying to figure all those things out. So lots of questions, but nothing that we know needs to be answered at this moment. We know that there's a lot more immediate things for some other sports right now. So we're just kind of waiting our turn, but also hoping everything goes according to plan in January.
Yeah, I feel like same thing. Ever since March, we've been everybody has so many questions about so many different things, and you just kind of, we're in wait and see mode, and we've been in wait and see mode for a long time now. But that's the way the world works. But yeah, like you said, it's definitely going to be different, and that kind of goes into my next question. The MAC was going to be different regardless this upcoming year. As you know, Arcadia and Lycoming have switched to the MAC Freedom, and then York comes in from the Capital, and Eastern comes in from the MAC Freedom. So how does that affect your team overall, and how do you think that affects the MAC?
For our team, interesting. So we were playing Eastern and York once a year already. So and all those games have been very similar in terms of close games, battles, which is similar to what we had with Arcadia and Lycoming. I think obviously going to York rather than Lycoming is a little easier of a travel day for us, and we're certainly looking forward to that. But I think for our team, I don't know that it shakes up our conference that drastically. I feel like for women's basketball, they're pretty comparable changes for us in terms of 2 teams out, 2 teams in. I think that part of it is something that we're like, okay, well, we're used to playing these teams. We kind of know what we're getting into playing these teams. Recruiting, not sure. We've never really recruited against Eastern before. We've recruited against Arcadia a lot, so I don't know if that's going to have a different effect, but just in terms of what majors they have and what majors we have, Arcadia has much more similar majors. So that might be a little bit different for us. But for the most part, I think a pretty comparable switch of teams. And I don't think we'll shake up the conference too much. I think they're both really quality opponents. And so I think they'll still be fitting in that conference playoff battle, just like Lycoming and Arcadia did every year.
Do you think you'll make it 3 straight years with a buzzer beater against York?
Oh gosh, I really don't think they want us to.
I know. That was unbelievable, especially, when Maley hit it a couple years ago. And then this year with Morgan, it's like, oh my gosh, they're going to do it again. And then she hit it. And I was like, oh my gosh. It wasn't quite a buzzer beater, but it was pretty much a buzzer beater. It was just unbelievable that it happened 2 years in a row.
And not, it's not like it was a free throw or a buzzer beater layup, like both threes and just in those moments. Those were fun games. So like I said, like we're always in a battle with York. Even the years before we played them, everything was a really tight, close game. So I think, for us, that's exciting. Anytime you can play an opponent where you've got to show up to win, but they can show up to beat you, and it's tough competition, that's kind of what you want.
Yeah, I think you sort of have the upper hand because, like you said, you've been playing them the past 2 years, and I think every other team currently in the Commonwealth has been doing that I know of.
No, definitely not. So I do think we're a little bit more familiar with their style of play, who they recruit, what those players play like, but also what Betsy likes to do from an offensive, defensive standpoint as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And, with you having a late start this year, those conference games, playing each other twice, those are going to be huge because you don't know how many out-of-conference games you're going to be able to play.
Right. I'm under the impression we won't be playing any. So I think that's going to be the tough part. Even getting 16 games in second semester will be quite a squish.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Can you talk about recruiting a little bit? And has it changed, since March and everybody had to go online? And how's the recruiting class looking for this upcoming year?
Good. So we'll talk about the 2021 class because the 2020s were for the most part done by the time this all took place. But the 2021 class the recruiting has been good. It's been different in that we haven't been out at events. We've live streamed a lot of things. One of the benefits to it has been that the student athletes, the recruits, have been way more available to communicate with because they're not necessarily in class all day or at as many AAU tournaments. There are a handful going on, but those really just started in the last week or two. So for the most part, they're pretty available. So I can text them, call them, FaceTime them, Zoom them. We have been able to do campus visits. So we've had a handful of those in the last 2 weeks. We've had quite a few. Trying to get as many people on campus at this time as we can to see things, and just it's more of that's their one-on-one time with me for the most part. I don't know what's going to happen in terms of, in the fall, can we have recruits on campus still when our student body is there, and what that will look like, because normally we like to get the recruits to get a chance to get to know our current players. So we may have to get creative with that. We might have to do some Zoom meetings or something of that nature. But overall, in some ways, it's actually pushed our recruiting forward because those recruits are so much more accessible right now, just in terms of being home. So we actually have one commitment for the 2021 class already and are hoping to bring in about probably 5 others, and then have had a handful of those on campus with offers that we've made at this point.
That's great. Good to hear. I'm glad, you're still trucking. And I learn something new every day. Every time we do these interviews, I didn't really think of that. Like, oh, they're not in school, they're not doing homework. So what else are prospective student athletes going to be doing besides, getting better and talking to coaches? So
yeah,
that's a great point. So can you talk about last season, some positives you took away and what you think you need to improve on in order to take that next step in 2020, 2021?
Yeah. Last season it's interesting. I think when someone looks at our record, they're like, oh, it didn't go so well. I don't know that we felt that at all inside the foxhole. I think in the foxhole, we felt like everything that could go wrong did. We had a couple ACLs, a broken wrist, mono. We had some things that really kept us. I think we only played 1 game with our full roster, and most games with 6 or 7 players. And so we really, we felt like we improved as the year went on. We got better from day one to the end of February. And then on top of that, we really feel like because of kind of the different things that went on in the season with injuries and sicknesses and stuff, The team itself did a really good job of banding together and just being a little bit of an us against the world and being really close and sticking up for each other and taking care of each other. And that's a piece of our team development and growth we've really been trying to hit on. So having that had happened last year, we're really looking forward to this next season, which is pretty unfortunate that it's going to be cut shorter than normal. But really looking forward to that in terms of all of those freshmen we had that got tons of playing experience last year. Same with the sophomores, who maybe if we had a bigger roster, we didn't have as many injuries, wouldn't have had as much experience, are now coming into this year with lots of experience, prepared to play at this level, understand what our conference is all about. So we feel really good going into this year. And then with that, we're bringing in all guards to go with our bigs and really to just, for the most part, shooters to help increase, our three-point shooting percentage. We graduated Morgan. She was really the only one consistently comfortable in that role. And so looking to develop the players we have, but also it was a goal of ours to recruit players that even if they play varying positions, can knock down the outside shot.
That's good. Well, I'm super excited. I hope we can play as many games as possible beginning in early January. And, I want to thank you for coming on. We really appreciate it. And, let's hope we can see each other in person sometime soon.
Yeah. Thank you. It's good to see you finally.
Yes, you too. All right. Thanks, Amy.
Take care.
Thank you to Coach Sokaitis for joining us on episode 8 of the Dutchmen Discussions. And thank you to everybody for tuning in. We'll be back later this week with another episode, and we hope you stay tuned for that. Hope everybody stays safe, and go Dutchmen.